This has been the goal for quite some time. I wrote a little date down here in the bottom corner. April 24th, it was 2020. That year I did run my personal best of 3:07 at Auckland, or Strava saying 3:05 because the course is somewhat long. That was a good year. The next year, when the main focus was the miler, which went fantastically well. Later in the year I tried to then train for this goal once again, and I got very, very close. In December I was in very, very awesome form, but with a week to go in the taper I had a toe injury, and that was that. So that did not happen that year. Then 2022, last year, very up and down year in terms of the running. I tried. The body was just not having it, and later in the year, again, things were going good, and I bent my toe, and that was that. So I just accepted that it was not happening that year, and then now we are in 2023, where I ran my best time of 3 hours and 27 seconds. The reason this is the goal is because I desire to run anything under 3, I think would be very, very special, and to me that signifies that you are a very decent marathoner. That's just a personal goal that I've had for quite some time, and I intend on achieving it in the not too distant future. Probably not this year. I'll probably park it for a while and maybe revisit it next year, but now being only half a minute away from it, I know that it is well within my reach. Training duration, volume, and the details. I'll do a little snippet from my Strava. You can see it in the next clip. Here's my Strava. If you want to follow, then please have a look. This is what I've done running wise for the year, getting closer to 2,000 Ks for not even half a year. So I did the Festa 500, that's what that was, and then after that I got stuck in with the running. So very simple, 3-week build, rest week, 3-week build, rest week, 3-week build, rest week, 3-week build, and then into the taper, and I ran my best marathon ever. Peak week was 150k, and I was doing 10 kilometer increment jumps up until about there, when I started doing 5k increment jumps per week. Simply put, 3 weeks build in terms of volume, intensity, and speed, all that. And then a rest week, very easy throughout the week, followed up with a 5k TT on the Sunday to see where I was at, to see how things were improving, and then repeat. So 3-week build, rest, 3-week build, rest. Nice and simple. The method essentially was going to be 80-20, but I realized soon after starting that trying to do 20% intensity whilst doing 100 plus K weeks is very hard to achieve, especially if you're still working. I was working 4 days a week, normal hours. If you're a professional athlete and you didn't have to work, I think you could do it quite manageably. And it worked really well. There's no special amazing method from what I can see. It's just hard work, consistency, dedication, and that's what I did for 4+ months. And the result paid off really, 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 really well. I did 2 speed sessions a week, one midweek on a Wednesday, and then stuff included on Sundays, usually in the long run or the 5k TT kind of thing. So 2 sessions, and it ended up being more so like 90-10. It was an exact number of 10% intensity and the rest easy, but thereabouts is what it was. If you want to go and see all of it in detail, it is all on Strava, it is all public. So you're welcome to go and check it out. Mindset to train for a marathon at intensity. You have to have your mindset on lock. You have to know why you're wanting to do it, and you have to really, really have mad commitment in order to try and pull something like this off. There's days that it gets very testing. Either you're super fatigued, or the weather sucks and you've got a half marathon to run or something, or 2 hours. You have to know why you're doing it, and if you know why you're doing it, then the weather and other circumstances shouldn't get in your way of getting the training done. The only things that should, I would say, put the brakes on things or stop you would be injury, and I was fortunate to not have had that happen this time round. This has been a personal goal for me for quite some time. I know exactly why I want it, and I hit almost every session that I wanted. There was only one where I decided not to do a 5k TT on a Sunday because my foot was a little bit off, and it was a great decision. I just had an extra day's rest. It took its mental toll because you're going, oh my gosh, I'm having a day off, but it really doesn't make that big a difference at the end of the day, and having the extra day's rest meant that the next speed session was even better and really surprised me. So that was comforting, knowing that having another day's rest just meant that further down the track, when the body's healed some more and gotten stronger, gotten faster, that you get to go and surprise yourself. The taper, I followed a 3-week taper. I've used it before for my 100k, my Ironman, my 100 miler, and for other marathons, and it works fantastically well. You come off a peak week and then you go small reduction, you keep the intensities the same, and you just reduce the volume, shed the fatigue, and then your body gets to heal, get stronger, get faster, and it works. It worked again. It's just proof that it works, and each time you do it, you just have that much more assurance that you're making a good decision. Even though the emotional toll of a taper is quite something to go through, you take the pressure off, and it feels really weird because you're often fatigued at weird times, and it's just quite a weird period. Just got to make sure that you remain calm, stay emotionally on the level, and not freak out when certain days just feel really bad or quite good. It's quite a strange thing to go through. Well worth it though when it works and you have what you want, feeling great on the day when it all comes off and you get an awesome result. Run through of the day. Well, I'll include the day before. I was very relaxed. I had a short bike ride followed by a stretch. I had just a nice, calm, relaxing day, just doing a few things, nothing too strenuous. Shave the legs, do some little jobs like that. I had a raw day. I had dinner at the time that I normally do. Was nice and hydrated, eating my juicy fruits. I had an amazing raw day dinner, which included durian, jackfruit, ripe persimmon, soft persimmon, and banana. And it was delicious. The durian was 10 out of 10. I love having raw days the day before because it's just super consistent how you feel the next day, and it is undeniably the best that I feel after a raw day dinner. I got about 8 hours sleep, which is unheard of the night before of a marathon. This time around I was a lot calmer in my head. I just had a better mental outlook with this and not let the thoughts race, not get too in your own head, essentially, thinking or overthinking stuff. I slept well the night before that, on the Friday and the Thursday, and pretty much the whole week actually was really good, apart from the day after the speed session. And to get 8 hours on marathon eve is really good. So I was out just before, sometime before 10, and I woke just after 6, which is ideal. Up in the morning, nice and relaxed. I was the first one up. I went downstairs, had my water, as I normally do. Often each day I will have 2 before I go and do stuff, but for a marathon I just wanted 1, because if I have 2 then I find that I'm too hydrated and want to go to the toilet, and you don't want that when you're in a marathon. It might be different for you. It works really well for me. Obviously I took water on the run, but prior to the run I only wanted 1 bottle, and that was that. So other shorter runs in the taper, I had food before the longer run, and this marathon was no different. I had 4 ripe bananas, about mid-sized ones, probably about an hour or so beforehand. Fruit digests really well for me, really simply feels seamless, and I was good. Then I got my stuff ready, changed into my outfit, chucked the shoes on, got everything ready. Then my brother woke up. He was going to be a support rider on the day, and headed out the door. Proceeded to start 7:59. The weather and everything was just looking perfect. Got going just down the road from where we stayed at a friend's place in Kohimarama, and headed out. The first couple of Ks were, a bit of a shock to the system, because obviously you're coming through the taper and you're kind of like, whoa, this feels quite quick. But after a short time it felt really quite steady. I felt very calm and controlled. Where I headed was straight out to Tamaki Drive, then turn right into St Heliers, a little loop around St Heliers around the green, and then it was back to the city, back to the harbour bridge. And it was all going really, really good. The roads were a little bit wet. Well, where I was running, it had rained in the night before. It didn't really matter though. The weather was ideal. The temperature was really, really nice, probably between 10 and 15 degrees, I think it was. Essentially as close to perfect as you're going to get. The wind was light sou'wester, which I had anticipated. That meant that I was going to be finishing with a tailwind this time round. But it was super, super light. Occasionally Mike was my brother riding in front of me to block a little bit of the wind, similar as they did for Kipchoge for his 159. But yeah, it wasn't bad at all. So heading on down, I was in a real happy place, just taking on water quite quickly, taking on my fuel, which I'll discuss later. Just keeping it regular, just keeping it going in. And all was good, all the way right down to the bridge. So I headed through the city, around Queen's Wharf, around the Viaduct Harbour, around Wynyard Quarter, around West Haven, to the Harbour Bridge, along the Marina car park, and then back towards Wynyard Quarter. Then through Wynyard Quarter, all that was going pretty good. That was just over halfway at that stage and was very, very comfy and controlled. It was actually very enjoyable. I wasn't chatting to Mike, but I was navigating and saying a few things that I needed to, like, we're turning here or whatever, and that kind of stuff. So I felt very comfortable, which is awesome that far into it. And I was kind of expecting that, but I knew that things were going to get tough, and they did later, a lot later than what I expected this time around. From there, from Wynyard Quarter, I was heading back to Victoria Park, and the plan was to do 4 laps around Victoria Park because it's just nice and flat, uninterrupted. So I had to cross Fanshawe, which is quite a busy road, and the Universe, or whatever it was, I was coming up to the lights, crossed over half where I could get across, and then to the middle they have separate public intersections, well, pedestrian intersections, and then as I was running through it, the lights just went green. So that was one, just like, great, thanks, that was awesome. Did my laps, was comfy enough. I don't know exactly the distance at that stage, but they're quite decent sized laps. Again, just taking on the fuel and keeping things nice and calm and controlled. Then from there, I was coming from Victoria Park, heading towards Viaduct Harbour once again, crossed the road, the half of the road that I could, and again, just out of the blue, the pedestrian crossing on the other side just went green. So it was like 2 from 2, just by chance, complete fluke. Headed back around the harbour, Viaduct Harbour, around Queen's Wharf, all going good, feeling very, very comfy. Again, still weather and everything looking perfect. Tailwind at that stage now from there round, and I was still very, very comfy. I wanted to say to Mike on multiple occasions that I felt real good, and I think that today's the day, but I thought, don't eat your words and say it too soon and then have a 5-minute blowout at the end or something. So I kept it to myself, I didn't say it, and things started to get a bit tougher. I knew that, the pace, I was averaging 4:17, 4:18 down to about halfway, and then it was still about, it was 4:17 for the majority of it, and I thought, alright, I need to start trying to eat back some time now, and I thought that I'd be able to do it. When I was coming through the city, like downtown, I was thinking, I feel real good, I feel like I'll be able to kick towards the end. That's what I thought. Wasn't going to be the case though. So from there, heading past the helicopters, this is probably like 7 odd K to go. I was lifting the pace. I had dropped it a little bit, and I was seeing a lot more 4:15s flash up, so I thought if I'm averaging 4:17 and I'm doing 4:15s, then I should pull back a second, which I did. It came down to 4:16, and I thought, okay, this is good. I've got one more to get. 4:15 would have guaranteed a sub 3. And from about Napipi, which is maybe 6 and a bit to go, things were getting tougher, but I was still well in control. I was still pushing the pace, seeing 4:10 flash up. I was at that stage downing my fuel quite regularly. Mike said, do you want me to take it back? And I said, nope. I was just downing it, having a rest, downing some more, because at that stage the body is just wanting the fuel and really running on whatever you can feed it at that stage, but also hopefully keep down and get stitch, not get any issues in terms of stomach digestion. From there, Napipi, Okahu, I was still good, still quite good. Again, it was getting a little bit tough from there on. I was really starting to work for it, but I was still on pace. Like, I thought I was going to be clawing back. I was still clawing back time, and it was at 4:16 for a bit, and then Mike started encouraging, saying certain things like, you know, you're close, like, dig it in everything now and all that. And yeah, that's good, but you know that with 2, 3, 4K to go, it's still quite a long way. You can't really just go and set fire to the torch paper or whatever the saying is. Otherwise you'll just blow. And maybe looking back, I kind of think like I went a little bit early, because I was starting to push quite hard. I was seeing 4 minutes flash up, 4:05s, which was good because I was still maintaining and I wasn't absolutely exhausted at that stage. And then I checked the watch at around the Kohimarama crossing, and I was expecting to see 40 and 0.5, 41 or something, but instead I saw 39.5, and mentally in my head I was like, whoa, 2 to go. So at that stage I'd taken on quite a bit of fuel, and I could feel a little bit of stitch coming on, so I ditched the fuel, grabbed the water, and felt the pace slow, in which I thought I was doing maybe 5-minute pace. It wasn't though, it was still quite good. Prior to beginning, I said to myself, like, you give it everything this time round, and you stay in it till the end regardless. So even if the pace did blow out to 5 minutes, then I was going to stay in it. Luckily it wasn't that pace. I'll talk about the end pace after this. But I was very much suffering from Kohimarama onward, where the yacht club is, heading around to St. Helier's. I had to go a little bit longer than what I had mapped out on Strava. So I went through the St. Helier's shops, round the back a little bit, then turned again, came back to the shops, and then turned a little bit again to finish by the park, by the green. And I was just full on suffering at that stage. Was kind of like closing my eyes, like just pushing as hard as I could, pushing so hard. Mike was encouraging, it was good. I just did my absolute best. So I was so ready to. You want to stop. I wanted to stop. I was like, oh my gosh, 2K to go, it's so far, but I didn't stop. I just kept pushing, and you know that it's over soon enough. Within 10 minutes or so, it's all done and dusted. So there was no way I was quitting. I kept fighting, and then I got to the end, which was great. I kind of, if you've seen the vlog, or sorry, seen the video, then you'll see that I went to the ground, just wanted to lie down. That's what you want to do at the end of a marathon. And I did so. The grass was wet and it was nice actually, just to lie down, finish it. 42.23 is what the watch said. I wanted to get 42.22 just to make sure that it wasn't going to cut me short when I uploaded it, and it didn't. The watch was then saying, as I had on the ground, 3 hours and 35 seconds. So damn close. But it is what it is. The pace, after checking it, uploading it, the last two I did about a 4:25 and then a 4:20, and that was after a couple 4:08 and a 4:06. So even if I did stay at 4:15 for the last two, it still would have only been about 15 seconds less, so about 3 hours and 15 seconds. So it just wasn't going to happen on that day. Tis what it is. I'm still very satisfied with how it went. And then from there, just lay on the ground for a bit, talked to Mike, who was holding the camera, a wee bit, tried to get up after that. Calves were just cramp city. I couldn't get up by myself, but Mike gave me a bit of assistance to stand up, and from there, after the muscles had kind of relaxed a little bit, I was walking just fine. From there we walked back along to Kohimarama, where family friends live, and I was good once I was up and moving. I even had a little run trot up their hill to their driveway, and then from there just proceeded to have a good stretch, nice feed, and a relaxing time with them. the fuel and the water. So I took 2 of these as water. One of them was about this full, and the other one I think was completely full. I had 2 of these also. They are the mini pumps, just unbranded. Used them many times. And I had one of these filled with water. The other one had golden syrup and water in it. Golden syrup filled up to about there, and then just shaken up. Then the other ones were these ones. These are my little pouch ones. They had about 10 ml of golden syrup and water. So 2 of them, 2 of them, and 2 of them. That's all I had. 4 bananas and that stuff, and it was sufficient. There was a little bit of water left in these and a little bit of fuel left in the one that had it in it. And that was that. It did the trick just fine. No salt tablets, no caffeine, no other anything else. Just bananas, a little bit of sugar, and some water. The result, 3 hours and 27 seconds. A measly 27 seconds. Not even 1 second per K. It's a bummer for sure. It would have been amazing to get 2:59.55 or 2:59 anything. But it is what it is. I tried very, very hard. I am very satisfied, as I said. 3 hours and some seconds. Most people are going to look at it and go, wow, yeah, that's right on where you want it to be. So it's not quite what I wanted. I'm not completely 100% satisfied. I am about 99.9 something satisfied. And I will park the marathon goal for a while because it takes a lot of commitment to shave off a negligible amount of time. The goal is still absolutely 2 something, but the way in which this one went with the correct training for another one at some stage, I anticipate crushing the next one and going significantly under the 3 mark. Watch this space. The next event, goal, marathon thing, is not going to be a marathon. I'm going to be doing a half Ironman 70.3 coming up in just over a month's time in Cairns with Chemise in Australia. I hopefully will do somewhere around the 5 hour mark. That's the plan. Then from there it's going to switch to doing some longer stuff once again. Got big plans which I'm not about to share here on YouTube, but I will do if things start looking like it's going to happen. Again, watch this space. After this one and how this went, I have a lot of confidence to head into the next plan with great energy for what could be to come. I'm going to stop right there with the talking on that subject. The recovery, just amazing. Like I said, I ran a little bit up the hill just shortly after doing the marathon. I had Monday off completely, no exercise. Then I rode the bike to work yesterday, Tuesday, 15k in the morning, and then another 15k in the afternoon. Legs felt decent enough. The calves are a bit tight, and the muscles kind of front of the hip and side of the hip just a bit tight, a bit worked. But apart from that, no major injuries, no other pains anywhere else. The only other thing that was new to me that I have experienced straight after a hard run was that I was kind of, I wouldn't say short on breath, but couldn't quite breathe as deeply as I wanted. Even today, Wednesday, it's still kind of like that. It's better day by day so far, but that is definitely a first that I'm not used to. I like to think of it, I'm not too sure if this is correct though as well, like the muscles are very tight, and because they've worked very, very hard, so maybe it's the same with the lungs, that the lungs are not used to doing what we did, breathing very, very hard for 3 hours long. Apart from that, recovery has been amazing, and I am super grateful for my body, how amazing it is and what it can put up with and bounce back from compared to my first marathon, except that I used to be eating meat, dairy and eggs. After that one, at 4 hours 38, I could barely walk, I could barely stand up, whereas this one I was walking and running shortly after. Night and day difference. Whole foods, vegan diet recovery. Closing thoughts, how I'm feeling, yada yada yada. I'm real happy with that. I gave it everything. I am very close to being completely satisfied with marathon running, but I still have potential in terms of age. I'm 33. Many people don't peak until the mid-30s or even late 30s for endurance things, and that's exciting. I've got some goals like running a sub 3, doing a sub 10 Ironman, and doing a sub 24 100 miler. Those things I want to achieve by the time that I'm 40, and I think that hopefully if things keep going really well, then I should be able to tick them off. I want to say thanks to my brother for supporting me to help make it happen. It was really, really good call of him. Much appreciated. Also Emily for getting the footage for Insta and a lot of the photos that you'll see here, there and everywhere. A big thanks also to Shamiza's parents for hosting us the night before and the day of, for cooking my brother some food and me also extra food for after the run. It's really nice of them, nice to spend time with them. Really, really cool. I'm going to continue running also, absolutely, because I love it. I'm not going to stop. It's not just doing a big goal like this and then stopping. I will continue. Today's Wednesday. I went for a run today. Just a nice little easy shorty. No heart rate strap and no care for the pace. It was very slow for me, 6 minute 50 pace. But I am still recovering. I am still feeling it, that's for sure. And that is all good. Usually people take a few weeks to recover from a marathon, and I'm going to just see what I can get away with in terms of not letting it go on too long, and then also trying to put in some volume, some bike and swim training for the upcoming triathlon. Speaking of the word vegan, that is why I do these things, to show that we can absolutely thrive as vegans without having to use or consume animal products and their secretions. It's weird in 2023 when we have 20,000 plus plant sources that we can eat, and we don't have to rely on the sad, horrific animal agriculture industry. Just realized there's a few things that I left out, so I'm going to cover them. Pacing for it was, the idea was to go 4:17, 4:18 down to halfway, and then if I had anything left, to increase it on the way back, which I did for a little bit, as I mentioned. But overall it's quite even throughout. I haven't quite tallied up which half was faster, because it gives it to you in kilometer splits and then adds on 0.2 at the end. But I will check it out. You can see it. The Strava link is going to be in the description, so you're welcome to have a look. But it was very, very even throughout, which I'm super proud of. There's no big ugly blowout. I did also do some strength stuff. I have these things called Y-bells. They're kind of like kettlebells, just easier to hold. And I did that once a week for about the last 2 odd months. Doing squats, doing lunges, doing calf raises, and I was consistent with it. I also stretched, and after long runs on a Sunday. Not every single day, but often enough. And I also did things like roll my feet most nights, toe grabs with my toes, and just massaging the legs a little bit here and there, and the feet. Consistently, very consistently. I did mention a little bit about the mindset also, but I want to acknowledge the times that it was testing. There was days that I didn't want to grab the heart rate strap, but I still did, because I was absolutely committed. I knew that to get this goal, or very close to it, like I've got, that you had to put in the work. There's no shortcuts, there's no deviation around to get to the goal. You only have to put in the work, there's no other way around it. And I was super, super committed. Coming through the taper, it was the weirdest time, because you're trying to shed the fatigue, but you have to maintain the pace. So it's a weird psychological battle of like somewhat resting, but also maintaining the pace so that you don't rest and freshen up too quick, if that makes sense. I did also use a heart rate strap, as I mentioned, and it was really, really good. People say that you should do a lot of it in zone 2. I did some in zone 2, but more in zone 1, because zone 2 felt that little bit harder running big volume weeks. So the majority of it, I would say, would have been zone 1 or lower zone 2, and then the short, small period of very, very hard intensity. Simple method. It worked great. And overall, I am very, very, very happy with how it all went. Obviously, it would have been nice to be 30 seconds quicker, but it is what it is. And that's that. If you have any questions, then please post them down below, and I will get back to you while it's all fresh in my head. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Please. please give the video a like if you got something from this, or if you are vegan, happy and thriving.